Testing. Testing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the meeting to begin, but I see that we still have people coming in, so with your patience, I'm going to delay for 5 minutes until everybody has a chance to get in and get seated. Thank you so much. With our presenters as the developers for Marina Island LLC. You're still having difficulty hearing. How about now? A little closer. Okay, thank you very much. They're experimenting with our sound and audio vision today to try to make everything better in here. So anytime you can't hear, just raise your hand and we'll know. So we have Mr. Andy Bales here today representing Marina Island, who's going to be presenting and answering questions. And I just want to welcome you. But before I begin, I need to ask for a motion and a second from the commission. As you'll notice, there are 3 out of 5 of us here today. Commissioner Friend is at home trying to recover from the flu. Excuse me, Commissioner Tender is at home trying to recover from the flu. And Commissioner Barnes is still recovering from surgery. So they're both going to be participating by telephone today. And they may be interrupting at any point to ask a question or whatever, but if I could have a motion for them to be able to participate by telephone and a second, I would appreciate that.
So move.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any objection from, well, there's no one else on the board to object. Are there any objections from the public? And there appear to be none. Mr. White, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Commissioner Barnes, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so all 5 have approved, and so therefore we'll begin now. If you will, Mr. Bales, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you.
And all right, I have no sound. The protocol of today's meeting, I want to make it very informal, but at the same time I would like for it to stay orderly. So what I would like to happen is for Mr. Bales to make his presentation. At any point in the presentation, if you have a question, if you raise your hand, I will recognize you. If you would stand in place and sort of shout out your question, and hopefully we'll be able to hear it so closer to Mr. Bales. If not, we'll share a microphone with you, and then Mr. Bales can answer. If you would address your questions to me, and then of course you can hear them, but that way we'll be following the protocol of the meeting. Does everybody understand? We're all good? Okay. And I know we're going to have a great meeting, so thank you all for being here. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Anderson. It seems we don't have the same problem we had last time. Thank you, Commissioners. Welcome, everyone. I'm Andrew Bayless, Andy Bales, as everybody knows me around here. I appreciate everybody coming out and hopefully showing your support and addressing your concerns that you might have about what we plan to do on the property we acquired last year in a lot of your neighborhood here in Lynn Haven.
Mr. Bales, could I ask you just one?
Sure.
Would you be more comfortable if we moved the podium sort of at an angle so that you could
That'd be
see the
great.
screen and the people? That will keep you from having to turn awkwardly every time you want to say something. Thank you. It didn't look like you were comfortable with that position.
That's great.
Better? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah. Thank you. Testing. Hello? Yeah, okay.
Much better.
All right. So I've got all this new equipment, so everybody bear with me. I might, if I shoot you in the eye with this laser, I don't think it's damaging in any way. If it is, then talk to the city manager about that. Anyway, the project name is Marina Island. Our company is Marina Island LLC. See if I do this right. Currently, the U.S. Air Force Fuel Depot, which we acquired last August, August 23rd, I think we closed on it, and the site is 150 acres, blighted. It's an old fuel depot. It's been tested for all the, for 15 years or so by the U.S. Air Force and met all the standards that it needed to meet by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and also the U.S. EPA. But there's still a lot of, it's a blighted site. It's an eyesore. If you go by it on a boat, it's an eyesore. There's limited or no benefit to the city of Lynn Haven at this time. It's hard to read because white on white there, but limited ad valorem tax generated for the city and for the county. There's no public amenities out there, nothing that anybody can access. This beautiful 500-foot long, 500-foot wide T-dock that's out there. We were out there the other day and looking for redfish, and they were, I see dolphin out there, everything. So, it's a beautiful area potentially. There's no job creation. I mean, there's nothing going on out there. There's no businesses, restaurants, no construction. So there's really no secondary benefit like that. There's also a number of environmental challenges that we have to deal with over there, both on the site as far as just general cleanup of the materials that the Air Force has left on the site, bringing in dirt from outside to bring the site up to the right safe levels that we wouldn't have to worry about flooding and things like that, and also the surrounding bodies of water. When the Air Force committed to using that site, they had to have access for the railroad. So they actually took two other sites that were upland, and they moved all that dirt over and built that causeway, and it created sort of two halves of the Lynn Haven Bayou. If anybody's familiar with that area, you know what I'm talking about. So what essentially we have to do is, when they did that, they built a canal on the south side of the site. Hold on, I'm clicking, but nothing's happening. So that's the south side of the bayou there. It's filling up. I mean, some of the sorry, I may have jumped ahead. I may have to go back, but that area right there, oftentimes, and over here now, will actually there won't be any water on it. It'll be just a bog. So creates a situation where you get cattails and different things like that. And from an environmental standpoint, I think there's some folks here from the Friends of Lynn Haven Bayou somewhere around here. Oh, in the back there. I won't hit you with my laser. But anyway, they'll tell you that, you know, there's a number of different issues there. And one of the biggest issues is that the bayou doesn't have adequate flushing. It means if there's any sort of pollutant that gets into the bayou, it actually will be trapped in there for, the state says that it needs to be out in 96 hours, that if something were to, a contaminant were to get in there, it needs to be flushed within 96 hours, and it doesn't do that. There's also numerous areas of emerging wetlands that must be protected. There's issues with flooding during storm events, which affect the neighbors in the area there. There's an accelerated fill in there because all the runoff in the area is basically coming down in there, and so it's spilling into the bayou, and it's filling the bayou, which is creating a different environmental challenge. The canal itself that was built by the Air Force in the 40s to flush the bayou has gone from 6-foot depth to 2-foot depth. So there's a few areas that might be a little less than that, and a few areas that might be a little bit more than that, but in general, it needs serious maintenance. There's also limited deep water boat access. And when I say limited deep water boat access, unless you're an acrobat and you can do the, the limbo? So unless you can do the limbo and you're in a John boat, you really can't get out to the big water. So it's very limited back there. And that affects the housing prices of the houses that are on the water and so forth. If somebody wanted to have a house on the water but want to have a boat in there. So there's no access right now, no significant access. There's also no safe public access to it. I mean, if you own a house there, you can get down to the water, but there's really no way safely to, you know, if you want to take your kids fishing or something like that and just go someplace in small water and catch brim or whatever, there's no way you can do that. Also, there's a lot of invasive flora that's coming up over there. Some of it's protected flora, some of it's things like cattails, which are considered to be like a weed or I don't know the technical term. I'm sure these fine people in the back here could tell me. And anyway, so our project, what we own is, let me hit the button there. Yeah, okay. Our project is, there's about 5 miles or 4.6 miles of railroad easement comes into a parcel right on the corner of Tennessee and 10th Street. We own some stuff that's underwater there that will more than likely become conservation, the causeway, and then most of the island. There's a 40-acre piece here that's owned by FSU that we're talking to them about doing some stuff together that would be sort of live, work, play, and allow the university to do some stuff out there that would be really, really cool. And I think it would be also things that would generate general interest to the public. So it would have a lot of positive effect for Lynn Haven. And then we own this parcel down here on the end as well, and plus some of these little parcels there. So in whole, it's about 230 acres. We plan, so this is the big slide here, we plan to actually put in some additional waterways to allow flushing of the Lynn Haven Bayou, as well as a bridge. But these areas are going to be public areas. They're not going to be gated. And I've said this, anybody who's heard me talk up here, I've been here a few times, we want this to be a very inclusive development. We don't want it to be something where you come to a gate and then if you don't have the special passcode or special handshake, you can't get through the other side of the gate. So we want it to be very, very inclusive for the public and create a space that will allow people to come out here and access it by foot, by bicycle, by golf cart, by boat, and utilize not only the facilities that we have planned in this area here, go through my presentation, you'll see the different areas, but that area right there is called downtown. And we want people to be able to access that out there by boat. Go take your boat out, go to dinner, go take your boat out, go to the theater, that sort of thing. Go take your boat out, take your kids to a park. So we have, if you see whoops, I just hit the wrong button here. If you see right here, that's picking up the Lynn Haven's Rails to Trails, which if you probably have heard this, or if you haven't, we are donating from, that's 390 right there, from there down to 231 of that easement to the city to build to have land to build the Rails to Trails program that a lot of people are familiar with and you've heard in the news and so forth. And it's a great initiative that the city and the mayor and the city manager and the commissioners have undergone, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I've seen it in other cities, and it's really a great way of connecting different parts of the city. But we'll pick up here, and that'll go all through our project, and we'll have spurs going off to access water points. We'll have spurs going off to access different amenities in the community that we're planning to build, and we'll have spurs going off to access different commercial things, such as you'll see in just a minute as I go through the presentation. So what we call our front door, because we're, essentially we're an island. We have water here, all down here, up, the Lynn Haven Bayou, the south part. We propose a bridge right here to allow the proper flushing of the Lynn Haven Bayou. And then, we've got North Bay here and Upper Goose Bayou over here. So we're essentially an island, and we do have a couple access points over here through Hugh Nelson Industrial Park, but our front door is going to be right here. And we'll have Marina Island Boulevard going up there, which will be a 2-lane, nice, quiet. We kind of think of it as kind of a 30A at the beginning when they were by Rosemary Beach or something like that, where it'll be, slow traffic coming in and so forth. But that front door piece is one of our first goals is to get that done. That's on the corner of Tennessee and 10th. Right now, this is a rendering. We did a tree survey of the site, and we had significant trees identified on it. And one of the things we wanted to do is identify. We did a rendering of the bayou and the trees and so forth on there, and it's close. It's not exactly, but it's close. And we wanted to see what was going to be the difference. So we took the actual plans and we did that. That's what we're planning on building on that first site right there. So you can see it's not, if you look at that to that, it's not like we've got a 22-story building going up right there, and you're going to have people throwing beer cans off the roof. I mean, it's meant to be very high class, classy, but natural feeling home site. So for mid-level residents, mid-level height residents, and lots of amenities. And some of these amenities will actually connect into the Rails to Trails, which he's got sort of drawn in over here on that. But that's based on our current plan on that site. A small, we're not sure if it's going to be floating or whatever, eight boat slips or something like that, just so people can access the water from that particular project. But there'll be some other spurs onto that same parcel of land that will allow people to come down and fish or do various things that would be, and just enjoy nature and so forth, be able to stop and rest and sit down someplace shaded if you're going, especially if you start at 231 and you start walking up to the site. So that's our plan, and we think we call this our front door. So some of the benefits of this, obviously, we see a lot of benefit in helping the Lynn Haven Bayou, but this is really the main, the way we connect to the Lynn Haven Bayou, the only way we connect to the Lynn Haven Bayou. So everything costs money, and if we don't have any connection to the Lynn Haven Bayou. It's hard for us to justify spending all the money we have to build a bridge and to do this and do and dredge and do all these other things that we have to do to bring Lynn Haven Bayou up to, you know, a world-class, you know, environmental standard. So I think if you see here, I mean, we plan on building single and multifamily low-rise dwellings, blended, keeping much of the flora that's around the trees that are around that's beautiful trees that are on that site. Connection to rails to trails and covered and elevated walkways down to the Lynn Haven Bayou so the public can access them. Light spurs down to the Lynn Haven Bayou. I said that. Cleanup of the Lynn Haven Bayou, which is roughly a $700,000 bill to get that accomplished. So that's sort of what we're trying to, if you will, the carrot we're hanging out there for public support and support of the commission is that we can resolve this problem that has been going on quite some time. I think after we'll probably have some people that'll want to speak about that if time permits. There's been many different images floating around in the news and the newspaper and on the website, and people really just don't know where things are. So the way I set up the rest of this presentation, we're probably about halfway through it, or a third of the way through it, is I actually identified a parcel on the satellite image, and then we'll talk about what's going to go on that parcel, so you can get an idea if you live in the area or something like that what's going where. So you're not seeing something that might be you know, in an area like this where it's completely secluded, and say, oh, that's going to be in my next door. You know, that I don't know if I like that or something. So we'll show you what's coming. So this parcel right here we're calling Marina Island Drive. This is post-development. It's the first 1,800 feet onto the development from our front door. So this is going to be it's a 2-lane boulevard with a large median. We're planting oak trees. We've got 150, I think, oak trees that we're planting along this piece, and there'll be some high-end single-family housing along the waterfront. The rails to trails, which is, you can kind of see a bit of it right there, will be over there. It's a 10-foot wide rails to trails. It goes all the way down there. It's an elevated walkway. It will be running right along the edge of the Lynn Haven Bayou. So you'll be able to look down and see beautiful grass marshes and wetlands and the Lynn Haven Bayou. I was out there in the center of the causeway. There's probably every day 50 egret sitting out there fishing every day, and I saw a blue herring over there the other day. But anyway, so you'll have access. The public will have access to all that stuff. This is not gated. We do have a little slip road on the side there that the houses will be on. The houses will be. We're building the houses ourselves, and well, I mean, we'll have contractors do it, but we're developing it ourselves. The houses will be in the $1.2 to $2.5 million range. They're going to be very, very nice new product, I think, for Lynn Haven. As I said, there's 150 oak trees, live oaks that we're planting down there. We want to get a canopy across the road, so it'll be nice and shaded over there. All the rails to trails that we have through the development all will be illuminated, so there won't be any dark places. We really want it to be a safe place, first and foremost, for people in the public to be able to take advantage of. The site itself, we're actually, just a little side note, everything we're doing is to LEED's gold standard, which LEED's means it's the U.S. Green Energy Council's standard. It's called the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And so we'll be to LEED's gold standard throughout the entire development. We probably won't apply for it because it's an expensive process and it gets you absolutely zero other than a nice plastic plaque, and you can put that in your office. But anyway, we have, as I mentioned, special rails to trails. Trails will be constructed at an elevated wooden deck and rails, 54-inch rails, so that which is for bicycle use. So it'll be a bike, walking, and running. And then, as I mentioned, everything will be illuminated, as will the all the roadways and everything will have good illumination. This parcel right here, I don't know if you can see it. The contrast isn't that clear right there. But this parcel right here, we've had a number of people ask us about this image. And they said, what is this? Where's that going to be? They thought it was going to be on that front door parcel. This is actually, it's a conceptual thing. It needs to be, run through the engineers, and they have to say, well, this has to be at this level and so forth. But conceptually, what it is it's meant to be called Canal Street, and this is a shopping area. There'll be a few restaurants and so forth in there, but mostly it'll be retail, but open air, walking, and boating. So it'll have boat access. We'll probably put gondolas or something like that to have something fun in there, or some sort of boat taxi. Be a river walk, similar. If anybody's been to San Antonio, Texas, you've been to San Antonio, so you know the river walk there in San Antonio. It's an amazing place, a lot of fun. It's clean. It's family fun. It's really an attractive area. The construction will have, over top of it, we'll have some sort of flat over top of an apartment over top of it, it's meant to be a very urban feeling space with water integrated in it. It's a small section that we're doing of this, if you will, kind of something to have some fun in the development. The main part of the development right here, which is our downtown area, we have broken up into 3 districts. There's an art district, which is right here, and we're calling it an art district because we actually plan to put in some lofted spaces that artists can do, have studios, glass blowing, potteries, woodworking, etc. And we've had some high-level conversations with FSU, and they said, well, we have a lot of interest in this because they have a great fine arts program, and their fine arts programs sort of concentrates on Dennis told me from FSU, he said, it's in making money between the masterpieces. So it's the business of fine arts, and so that we mentioned this, and they were very, very keen on that. The area will have galleries, dining, entertainment. We'll also have some loft-style apartments there that we'll create. And if we do our job right, it should feel very much like it has been there a long time. We don't want to step away too much from, the feeling of like your lovely little downtown over here. It's been one of the inspirations that we had as far as to enhance that and have that same feeling on our site. There's also some vast green activity parks. There's a splash pad. There's a big plaza area which can be used for various events, and then residential over retail. Another area is the farmers market, and that's also a downtown, in the downtown area just north of the art district. The farmers market will be open air market. Again, it's in a plaza space, so it's an open air space, can be used for many things, but we want to have at least on the weekends, have a farmers market over there. Lots of local vendors. We want to do things like chili cook-offs and best barbecue of the bay and things like that we can promote different software activities and so forth on the development. And then the downtown proper. So this is the downtown Marina Island, and there's a large walking area. This whole area right here will have pop-up bollards sort of to stop traffic during the daytime. So in the morning, they'll be down. They can make deliveries down here. But the rest of the time, all of this area here and on the waterfront here and here is all walking area. So the idea is we have some built in these buildings. I don't know which one off the top of my head right now from this view, but there's a number of parking garages, and then we're also going to have shuttles so that we can take people that need assistance, either if they have bags or whatever. There'll be little shuttles that they can just pick up and free and get around back to their car. But the idea is to get people out of their cars. When I moved back to the United States 3 years ago from Israel with my family, I know that over there we walked everywhere, and I have that on my iPhone. It's got a little thing that counts your steps every day, and a typical day I'd walk 12,000, 18,000, 15,000 steps. Over here, if I get to 1,800 steps, I'm calling my wife and taking a screenshot. You know, here I have a joke. I say I drive to my mailbox, so my mailbox is at the end of my driveway. But you know, we feel that it's nice to, you know, and it's very helpful to also to get out and walk, and it's nice to be able, and it's encouraging to walk when you actually have a place to walk in, something interesting to look at and interesting to see. So anyway, lots of live, work, play space. We really want to stress that. I think it's very important to live someplace where you feel good and you have the opportunity, if you want to go out, instead of having to get in your car and drive across the bridge and drive another 6 miles and find a restaurant. You'll actually have restaurants and other entertainment opportunities. We plan to build a theater as well as possibly a cinema over here as well. And also you can boat to work. So now we also have, obviously, you have all these amenities, and we have lots of, apartments and things, but we have single-family houses. So this area over here is, we call it Seaside Village. By the way, some of these names may change. These are our code names. But this is Canal Home, so we'll have, houses, overlooking the water, where you have safe distances and safe spacing from the water, so that it doesn't encroach. And the way we've designed it, although it looks a lot steeper here than actually on our plan, but there's a linear park that will go the whole length of this waterfront, all down here. So I think it's about a mile long, if I remember correctly, and sorry, it's not from about right there. It's a linear park. So what that means is that people, instead of selling that waterfront right there, we made it accessible to everyone, not just everybody in this community or everybody in the Seaside Village, but everybody in the world who wants to come to Lynn Haven and see it, and everybody in Lynn Haven, everybody in Bay County. So there's nice parks there. You've got a dog, you want to walk your dog, over there, or whatever. You can do that instead of us building out houses. I think I'm going to get in trouble there because it looks like I'm on Merrick right there. That's not intentional. Anybody's here from there. But the whole idea was to keep the houses set back a little bit, and then offer pathways through the neighborhoods to get down to the water. So these houses, there's a total of waterfront and canal homes. I think there's 164 houses. There's also, exceptional fit out and finish and things like that. We want to really try to elevate the area, although we do have product that's going in from, I think, the mid-3s to up to over $1 million. So that'll be the price points. I think that will actually really give some great comps to other houses and other property in the community, and for that matter, in all of Lynn Haven. This is we have one last part over there. We call it the Point. It's single-family homes. There's 14 very, very noteworthy, very large waterfront homes. This is on the very end of the development, on the very western end of the development. Very exceptional houses. They're going to be 4,000 and 5,000 square foot. The home sites are half acre, so they're significant. sizes on the water. So anyway, just to kind of to summarize, which you guys were waiting for this time, I'm sure by now. Marina Island, I guess I have it here too, I can read it on there. It's a best-in-class, master planned seaside community that is going to springboard, if you will, off of the lovely charm of Lynn Haven, and I think it will help the community to develop other things. It's going to create and encourage entrepreneurship. It's going to encourage jobs. It's going to be environmentally responsible. It'll have a positive impact. Now this is kind of going like if I were typing it. It's going to have a positive impact on the bayou by allowing access not only for boats but also for flushing the bayou and cleaning up the Lynn Haven Bayou. We're going to add a lot to the ad valorem. What we're proposing, our current budget is in the hundreds of millions of dollars, well past $500 million actually, which is going to have a tremendous amount of impact to the local school system and so forth, because our ad valorem, a big part of that goes to schools. It also is going to create a lot of opportunities for job growth and businesses to grow and expand. We're really fortunate. I thank God that we are here, that we have the vision, we have the support of the community, we have the support of the city government, the city officials, and they're responsible in their from what we've had up to now. They kind of hold our feet to the fire, and I think that's good. It makes us rethink things. If it's too easy, it never works out. So I think it's a huge blessing that we have the opportunity to do that here, and what a great place, Lynn Haven, Florida. Who would have known, unless you were stumbling down 77. It's such a lovely, quaint community. So anyway, with that said, I think that's it. Let's see. I was thinking. It is it. There's another page that says Marina Island on it, but probably got that already. At this point, I'd like to, first of all, thank everybody for suffering through that. I'm not professional at that, if you didn't recognize that. If anybody has, I'll leave it to you to,
Sure.
Yeah, turn it over to the public.
If you would join me in a little round of applause for Mr. Bales. Thank you. Thank you. So at this time, what I would like to do, if anyone has comments that you would like to make just in general about your feelings about this, if you would please limit your comments to about 3 minutes at the most, because we have a large crowd. If you have questions that you'd like to address to Mr. Bales, that would be in order as well. So what I'd like, if you would help me with the props a little bit,
Sure.
if you would put the podium back in the sort of the middle so that they can have a place if they have notes or something. Thank you for being the handyman here today. And if you would, when you come up, if you would speak directly into the microphone, and I hope it's still there, because the two commissioners who are listening by phone will need to hear what you're saying. So at this point, if you have something you'd like to say, questions you'd like to ask, or if you'd like to be heard, yes, sir, please approach the podium. And then if it's a question directly to the developer, if I can ask you to be so kind, Mr. Bales, I'll call on you at that time.
This one or that one? Either one. I'd like to address my comments in two different sections.
That's fine.
The first section is what I call the oil depot behind the gate.
Okay.
Okay, I'm all for that. If they want to put a restaurant, or like San Antonio's got the canal, I've been there and I've seen it. It's nice. I'm all for it. But the second part I want to address is the land that adjoins Tennessee Avenue. I'm against it. It is not a place to put mixed businesses or whatever will eventually come there. But like I say, I almost bought that land years ago when I was looking, my wife and I. We almost bought it, but it was tied in with the airport some way or another, part of it. So we went over and we found land on Kentucky and we bought it. We liked it. There was a retirement community. It's got changes. It went from a large lot, which we liked. You had to have 100 by 150. It went to 50 by 150. We were against it because I liked the openness. But with the land on Tennessee, I'm against changing it, because once you change it, it'll eventually lead to more businesses in that area. And right now, it's completely residential as far as I know. There's houses on it.
It would be changed from single dwelling family homes
Right.
to a mixed use is
Right.
is the
And I'm
proposed
against
land
it.
use change. Okay.
And I would like the
thank you.
commissioners to be against it. There may not be a lot of people that are against it. Some across the highway may be for it. But the ones of us that live on or near Tennessee, I've talked to them, and some of them promised to be here. And the ones I've talked to, if they're not here, every one of them is against it. I don't know of anybody on Tennessee or on Kentucky that is favorable of changing the zoning ordinance. And I'd like the commissioners, when it comes time to vote, to deny it and leave it like it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Appreciate your comments. Yes, sir.
My name is Gordon Andrews. And
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Gordon Andrews,
Thank you.
lifelong resident here, been in Lynn Haven for 30 years. And I have fished that bayou that we're discussing. I've lived on the bay and I've lived on this particular bayou. And I think what Andy's proposing is a fantastic idea. The whole concept of it, all the work's going to provide for someone even like me as a general contractor, provide the work to provide me, all the jobs it's going to provide for people and the housing, and the fact that bayou's dying. That bayou is dying. I mean, I used to go in there and with a little small boat and get catch flounder, catch trout, whatever. The bayou's dying now, and what Andy's proposing is going to bring that bayou back to life. So, and for the last, I'd say 22, 23 years, I've left Bay County here to go over to Walton County to help develop what you see over there. I would love to see that brought here. I mean, they've done a great job over there. And I'd love to see, this whole, I mean, it's just beautiful. And I've seen walks like something like what he's shown here, and it's just a very great environment. I can't say enough about that, so I'm for it.
I appreciate your comments, sir. Thank you. See if anyone, yes, sir, in the back.
Hi, I'm Jim Prater. I live on the southern half of Lynn Haven Bayou, so I'm a local resident. But I'm also here as the president of the Friends of Lynn Haven Bayou. My background is
Mr.
in-
Prater, I don't mean to interrupt. Could you speak up just a little bit,
sorry.
because we have two commissioners who
Okay.
are listening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so I was saying before that I'm the president of the Friends of Lynn Haven Bayou, and I have a background in environmental sciences. My degree is in oceanography. I came out of the oceanography school at FSU. I've worked with the Bay Environmental Study Team to do studies and several other organizations. We have been running the Friends of Lynn Haven Bayou for a little over 5 years now, trying to restore the bayou to its original state. It's been a long road, and it was a tough battle in the beginning. We started cooperating with the Air Force, and then when the present developer got involved, they have been nothing but supportive to our group. They have provided technical information, and they're actively trying to help us solve the problems. I can't imagine having a better relationship with between a developer and an environmental organization. It's been great, and I really believe that pushing this development forward is the best chance we have of solving the problems associated with the southern half of Lynn Haven Bayou. So as far as the quality of the development and stuff, that's kind of beyond the scope of our organization. But from the environmental standpoint, I back it 100%. So.
Thank you so much for those insights. Anyone else? Yes, right here.
Good evening, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I've been a member of the Bayou Friends. I've gone down there in a canoe with people and scrubbed, cleaned, taken tires out of the ditches and cleaned that place up. That whole problem is caused by the United States Air Force. Most government concerns, when they turn property access over to the civilians, they are supposed to restore it back to the way it was. That ditch was built there by the airport. The airport owned most of all that property, 400 and some odd acres, okay? They did, and that ditch is federal water, federal controlled water. It's the only way in and out of the bayou. The bayou is federally controlled waters too. The Air Force closed off the natural flow, of course. I admire the effort to open that up with the bridge. We had that discussions with Blue Waters, and that was one of the primary concerns I had. My questions were dealing with the first phase. He said that the Bayou Boulevard, the picture you had up there, was that inside the gate at $1.2 million, 2 lanes?
Yes.
Okay. It didn't deal with outside the gate.
Outside the gate, we don't have that.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, that's good. My concern is this. It's a great idea. I agree with the gentleman there. Anything inside that gate is a positive plus. But one of the concerns that has to be there and addressed by the commissioners and the city is the citizens' taxes that pay for this. Most of the infrastructure, roads and that, will be paid for by the developers. Fire department, school if there is, in a master plan, if we get a master plan, that's going to be hit with us. We've already got a lot of money invested in this. When the original concern came up with the fuel depot, the mayor of this town said that we would be reimbursed for all the legal fees and everything else that we were involved, that we were getting into with this. Granted, we probably will not get it. That's-
Former mayor.
Yeah, former mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I
Mayor?
comment on that?
Yes.
Oh, we did reimburse the city $100,000 at closing on that. Yes.
Thank you. Good, that clears that up. So what my concern is the citizens, what they're already paying. We're extending what we're going to pay. We're extending the CRA into that area, okay, which you showed the blighted area. I don't understand how for 70 years you can have a blighted area, there's nothing there. Can't be blighted.
Mr. Walker, that CRA has not been extended.
Yeah, it can't be blighted.
Thank you.
It can't be blighted if it's, they're using the term browned out. Yes, that's browned out. That's true. However, we've already got CRA money invested into this. It's coming out of the CRA of this area, paying for that area.
No, sir.
That's not.
Not true. So I'll just say that's not true. We're at the end of 3 minutes, but if you want to wrap it up, I'll give you a little time. But there has been no CRA money from here invested there. That's absolutely false.
That's not what I said.
I
This-
thought it
what I
was.
said, okay, then if that's what you interpret and that's what you heard,
That's what
okay,
I heard.
I'll correct the statement. The CRA money to enlarge the CRA area has been come and does come out of this CRA so far. Okay?
There's been a study done, but there's been no decision made as to whether that CRA will ever exist out there. At this point, there's an argument going on with the county about different things that CRA may or
okay.
may not occur.
Thank you for that clarity, because
Thank
that's another thing I heard about. But listed on our website is the February 2017 issue of the extension of the CRA, and it includes that. It includes the budget for it, which comes out of the CRA that's here now, and that is on the website. If that's incorrect, Mayor, I would like you to have that removed from
I think that,
our
Mr. Walker,
website.
we can discuss this, later when we don't have a room full of people, we can go into it some more. But as you remember, the study that was done on the CRA was that if a CRA were to be approved out there, which it has not, that CRA would be an extension of this old CRA, and that money could just as easily come from the money developed or generated there to the old part of Lynn Haven as it could from the old part to the new. It was never to be interpreted by you or anyone else that the money from this CRA would go to that part of the CRA.
Well, it's in,
So
let me do
we can
this.
look
Let
at
me do
that
this.
later.
I will take this up.
So at this point, I'd like to move on to other comments, and I appreciate yours very much. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm AJ Ireland, and Zane and I live on the Bayou, Lynn Haven Bayou. We've been
And if you can
involved.
speak as loudly as possible, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. I apologize for this sound system. It
it'll
is
be easy.
horrible. Go ahead.
Anyway, we've been working obviously with Jim Prater, who's president of Friends of Lynn Haven Bayou, and we feel, as Jim has pointed out, that this developer is probably the best chance we have to actually restore the bayou. Now, you may have some knowledge of what's gone down before. The culverts under the bayou are basically completely plugged, and the canal is also severely compromised. Now, the Air Force left that in a pretty bad state, and the airport authority actually, we talked to Parker McClellan, the director, and we explained to him the liability that the canal represented standing alone. So he actually, within a week, transferred the board at the airport, transferred to the city due to our efforts. We also pointed out to the city, Joel at the time, of the liability the city has with respect to flooding. So the city really would benefit from dealing with this and having a developer who's pretty much going to front up what's needed to open the causeway. So from the environmental perspective, it's a huge win. And we've been involved. In fact, we've had a contract, a deal with Blue Water for helping on the remediation. So we actually have a binding contract that we can actually act to breach the causeway based on the deal occurring with the city. So there's a lot of stuff that's gone on behind the scenes, and Jim's probably alluded to a little bit of it. But I think there's another bigger aspect to consider from the city's perspective, in that we know that there's an awful lot of other Americans up north who don't like snow, and there's a lot of us other Americans who don't like all the taxes. So we're obviously picking up a lot of infill and a lot of growth in the county as people decide to move to Florida. Now, GKN Aerospace, we're probably going to pick up the Reaper Squadron, and we have Eastern Shipbuilding. And those people really represent a range of socioeconomic incomes as jobs. But the one thing the city needs to consider long term is, where do you want to be? Do you want to be a bedroom community with just half-acre, limited one-story houses, which is perfectly fine? Or do you really want to consider more mixed development? And that's kind of in the line of what we might be able to get with Blue Water. So I think one should put on the thinking cap and consider that changing some of the aspects, not all of them, you can keep areas obviously the way they are, but having some thought about growth. We had, for example, in Portland, Oregon, they limited growth around the city. They didn't want sprawl, which is another problem when you have half-acre lots and you don't allow people to build closer. And basically, Portland has a real problem with expense of living. Okay, so I think the bigger question you guys are going to have to deal with and think about is affordable housing across a range of options, mid-rise, townhomes, and all the way to McMansions. We have them now at the golf club. So I think there's a whole range of choices.
Sir, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you can wrap it up, I'll
Yeah,
go ahead and
that's-
finish
that's,
up.
I think
Thank you.
the two
I'm just trying to
aspects-
watch the time.
Yeah, the two aspects we have are environmentally, this is a no-brainer. It's something we have to do. And secondly, you have a responsibility for the growth of the city long-term to consider what sort of growth is both sensitive to existing people, but the land use from years ago, our grandfather's time, may need to be adapted to the new realities and growth. Anyway, that's sort of what I have.
I appreciate your comments very much. Are there others? Yes, sir.
Glenn McGee. There were three questions I found were not answered by the presentation.
Okay.
What is the completion date for the master plan? There was no mention of when that was going to be ready, nor was there any mention of the traffic studies or when they were going to be completed for this particular, and also what was the build-out? What is the time frame on the build-out? How long are we talking, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Mr. Bales, would you like to address
Sure,
them?
thanks. I need to get your card because these are great things. Next time I do a presentation, I should have put all three of those in there. Okay, so the first question you had was the time frame for the development. Our time frame for build-out is we'd like to build out in 5 years and stabilize in 7. So that's our goal. Oftentimes these things get dragged out for numerous reasons. Environmental issues, if we have to get further study done or something like that. So these are where we are today. The second thing is, and in fact, we are ready to start building, nearly ready to start building on the first site. So, and the second site we haven't planned. We spent well over $1 million since we closed to do different environmental studies, to survey, to do all the different things that you have to do in a project of this size. We will phase the development. The second question you asked again. Traffic studies have been done, I think around. No, I don't know what that is. I can, oh, here it is. Thank you. Have a look at that. You can just give that back to Amanda when you're finished. Yeah, we're locked and loaded. So.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions? Yes, sir. Comments are good too.
Ed Barbara, soon to be a resident in this area, moving from Tampa.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yesterday I visited with Andy at the site, and I saw signs of vandalism. I saw signs of blighted, dying land. And after catching his vision and listening to it, I saw signs of kids and family at play. And this is going to bring a tremendous amount of jobs to the area. And the low-rise condos and single-family or townhouses done right, as I know that Andy's going to do it, everything that he was talking about is very much first class, that I urge you to go along with this. It'll be great for the community.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there others? Yes, sir.
My name is Brad Yunt, Y-U-N-D-T, 210 Lakeview Terrace. And what I saw was an absolutely first-rate master plan. I really, really liked it. It's nothing like I've seen anywhere else in Florida. Everywhere else in Florida that I've seen, it's been done poorly. This plan seems to address the mistakes that I've seen elsewhere. Now, I ask myself the question, are they unique in their planning ability? And I don't think so. I'm thinking that maybe the other people elsewhere in Florida also wanted to do a first-class development, but got diverted because they ran out of money or they didn't have the money in the first place. So with a 5-year development program build out, I assume that you've got all the money that you need in place right now. You don't have to go to Wall Street to do a cap raise.
We're in pretty good shape to get started. Yes, we expect our pro forma has a total capital cost of $792 million. Now that's a pie in the sky number right now. It could be $850 million, which is more likely than 750. We are well funded to get to that point, to get the project started. We're well over $100 million and ready, queued.
So you're not seeing much of an opportunity for bait and switch.
I'm not going to say that we're not. There may be changes in the development. There always are. As you start putting shovel to ground, you see something and you don't really like it, or you don't feel it's being accepted by the market right, or it's going to create some other social problem or something like that. So you do have that ability to change things. But no, I mean our idea is to make a first class, a place that I would like to live in, and that's the way I pretty much address every development I do. Is I think, what would I like to have here? What would I like to do? And I think the team that we have that is doing the master planning and so forth, from local folks to people from far away, they all approach it the same way. And they say, well, how would I like to live? I don't want to have traffic, parking. I want to be able to leave my house on foot and get some exercise after I have dinner at night. I'd like to be able to take my wife on strolls, in front of the waterfront. I'd like to be able to park a boat, even though I've never owned a boat, but I think I'll probably buy a boat at some point during this. I would like to be able to park my boat near my house, or in a dry stack or something like that. Although I've been told by a number of boat owners that's the way to go, So, yeah, it's not a bait and switch program. I think there's two things that allow a developer to succeed in his plan. One is finance, obviously. The second thing is also having support of the community. So, and that goes from the community itself and the people that they elected to represent them. So if we all have the same program, and it's very difficult to actually, if we're all kind of on the same mode of doing something good, then it's just really managing opinions on what that good is. I think we've got a good project, and I think I'm real happy with our master plan and the mix of the different asset classes that we have in the plan, different types of housing and different types of commercial and retail and things like that. And we have a few other tricks that we haven't shown that I think will be very well received in the community. One of the things, because I have children from 29 years old to 11 months old, so family, kids, this is something that really drives me. Personally, I like to see where I see kids go out on our site now. They're not supposed to be out there, but they go out. Kids are being kids. When I was 15, 16 years old, I did the same thing. And, walk around construction sites. That's probably how I became a developer. But at the end of the day, we would like to have places where kids can go and do things that are constructive, that are going to be helpful to them. We also, obviously there's a business side of it. We're not, doing this for philanthropic reasons only, but we think that the good things you do to the community will help give you the benefits that people will use the product that you build, So we're ready to go. We are ready to get started, and a big thing. I understand the comments of the gentleman over here about his concern about our front door, for instance. We already have a plan of what to do there, and doesn't involve a gas station, a Walmart, or nothing wrong with Walmart. We all go there, but or any kind of business like that. We want to do it's kind of an eclectic mix of some of which is multifamily. It's low rise. There's only 4 levels of apartments. They have a lift in them. We want to really take advantage of those trees that are out on that site, make it a beautiful place. When you walk out your front door, you're seeing these beautiful trees. And if you walk out onto your back deck, you're overlooking that beautiful bayou, which we hope to be able to help deliver. So for all of Lynn Haven and all of Bay County. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Mr. Yunt. Thank you for the answer, Mr. Bales. We do have another workshop scheduled at 5 for rate study, but because we have such a large number of people here for this particular topic, I would like to extend this for about 10 more minutes to make sure that everyone gets a chance to be heard. So I hope there's no objection to that. And I'll start with the gentleman back here. Thank you. This has been a very good discussion. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and all.
I'm Leroy Alderson. I live at 1019 Tennessee Avenue. Yes. I live directly across from where you intend on developing. My question, though, has to do with the boulevard. You mentioned from the door, what you call in your door front in, which would be on the west side of Tennessee. From Tennessee on to 390, do you intend to have for the boulevard the same footprint?
It'll be a different footprint. We're trying to work that out. Two things that we're trying to accomplish is, one is a different feel, so we don't want it to feel like 390 extended up, northwest. We want it to feel very, we want to slow the traffic down. We want to put a canopy of trees over that road. So that'll do two things. One, it'll buffer sound for the houses that are around there, and some of the houses are, because of over the years, they've actually got their footprint in the boulevard. So we want to be able to be good stewards and good neighbors. It's probably going to be a very modest two-lane road is what we're planning.
Well, that brings me to my primary concern in question. My house is one of them that the footprint is probably on your property. I measured from the center of the railroad track to the corner of my bedroom, and it's exactly 50 feet. That means if you put a walkway there, people are going to walk by my bedroom. If you put a car there, they're going to be driving within 10 feet of the bedroom unless you're willing to modify your plan, or you can buy me out.
Well,
Had to throw that in.
Nothing is off the table, let's say. But if any neighbors happen to be in the audience that live along that corridor, if you reach out to us, we'll come up with a solution. I mean, we're not trying to go in there and kick people that have lived there for 20 years, and all of a sudden, I know there was one very, very nice older lady that she had a pole barn that was built actually on our property, and we were able to help her at our expense with our attorneys to kind of guide her to the title company who actually gave her title to property that was now at the time belonged to the Air Force, but now belongs to us. And they're actually paying to move her pole barn for her. So I mean, there's not so many houses over there or so many residents in that one little corridor. So just reach out to us if you like. You can contact me. The city manager's got my telephone number. Or if you can't reach me because I travel a lot, you can call Baron Redding, speak to Bob Hughes, or Holly is actually, yes, for Holly Metzler. She's much more friendly.
Okay, I just wanted to, that's a major concern. Obviously, I hope you see why I'm concerned.
And we spoke earlier today, so we're actually neighbors almost, so we spoke earlier today. Anyone else? Oh, in the back. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Hi, my name is Yulia Polita. I'm a young mom as well as a realtor in the community. What I've seen today is the first exciting project that I've seen since I moved in the area in 2009. I think young folks are going to be very excited about it, not only to live in a beautiful community like that, but also work there. And I think it's something that Lynn Haven could be very proud of. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else that wanted to ask a question or speak on this topic? Yes, sir.
I'm Ron Barlow. I live on the south Bayou. In fact, I watch you sometimes down there walking around doing this and doing that. Been there since '89. One of the main reasons I moved to where I live now, I live at the end of Missouri Avenue. And the reason I moved there is because I used to be a big flounderer. I moved there. I could go in and out of the canal, had my boat in the water, raised my boys floundering. Had a neighbor, Marion Hoskins. Probably a lot of y'all have heard of him, brick mason. Lived there next to me for years. Would tell me about the times before the fuel depot, where the shrimp boats would come up in the bayou and anchor when storms came. Great old man. He's gone now, but we had a lot of good times talking about that bayou. I came down here totally against this project. But with what I've seen and what you've said you were going to do with the bayou, it's what we've been the Friends of the Lynn Haven Bayou and the people that live on the bayou been after for years. You know, and my question I have, what about the long-term maintenance on the canals and the bayou and everything? If you put a bridge in there, is there any plan to have it wide enough that a dredge can get up in the bayou, or have you got that far yet?
Well, we probably wouldn't bring a dredge in there. We'd probably drop one off of the causeway with a crane. So I think that's the way we plan, to do the maintenance over there now. And when we put in the bridge is going to be, I think it's going to give us about 9 or 10 feet of clearance, head clearance. Okay. So you'll be able to get a reasonable sized boat, but it won't allow big boats to go back there. There's really no reason for a big boat to go back there unless it was trying to anchor if there was a storm coming. And I think the work we do with the T-dock will allow, plenty of safe haven for big boats. But in regards to maintenance on there, I mean, it is our responsibility. On the bayou itself, it's not so much our responsibility, but on the canal, it's our responsibility. I think if you keep that canal flushed, and we also allow the cut in the bayou, and we dredge back there so we have a good channel for water to flow, then I mean, it should allow it to go another 100 years before significant work has to be done back there.
Okay, well, that was my concerns, because like I say, I've watched the bayou for years, since '89, and watched it fill in, and saw some things that, when I'm all for jobs. And when Sally Mae came in, I was all for it, and I watched 300-something trucks, 14-yard, 16-yard dump trucks go down to Sally Mae. They built a bridge down there with a piling and a navigable waterway. Yeah. Did not know that. I mean, didn't know it was against the law at the time, but it's against maritime law to do that. So I don't want any of those
At least you can get under that bridge.
Well, the boat I have.
The last one is
and it's like the new bridge they just put in. When they first went out and started doing it. I don't mean to take.
No, that's okay. I just have to make sure there's a chance. But thank you. Did you get your question answered? Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
If you're ever out there, you can, and you see me walking out there, you're welcome to come on over.
Thank you. Anyone else I've overlooked? Yes, come forward. Do you want to speak from where you are, Mr. Robitaille? You're good? Okay.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Madam Mayor, I've been in a couple of these. I remember the first one. A lady came, what's over there? Real nice presentation. Lady came and pressed it upon us that she had $50 million invested in this little project out here, and so on and so forth. But I'm having a real trouble with this because at both the ones I've been to before, there's always a presentation of sorts. And it's my understanding with this one that the two other entities involved have submitted a master plan, which the public can review. In speaking with Mr. White this afternoon, I found that there is no take-home information for this. The public does not have a plan. We don't have a plot map. We don't have anything. So basically, having been in several deals like this, what we're left with is, he said, you said. You hear what I'm saying, folks? I'm sure our lawyer knows what he said, you said means. And I suggest that before you do anything, get something in paper, get a plan, get a sketch, something of the homes that are going to be built. You see what I'm saying, folks? Tell the community and show the community just what's going to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robitaille. Did you want to respond?
Mr. Robitaille, we will have more information.
Excuse me, I'm done speaking.
Okay.
It's fine. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, what I would like, did I get everyone? I didn't leave anyone out, right? Okay. I would like, and I'll also give the other commissioners an opportunity if they'd like to make a comment before we close this portion of our workshop and we start the next one. I would first of all like to thank all of you who took the time to come out this afternoon to hear the presentation and also to take part. It speaks a lot of your love for this community and your interest in this community, regardless of which point of view that you had. I also would like to just make the comment that my home is also located on Tennessee Avenue. I'm located on the 500 block. I'm not at the south end. I'm not quite as impacted by the entranceway as others, but it will ultimately affect my property. It was my grandmother's house. I don't live in the country club or at Bay Point. I live right there in the middle of the old part of Lynn Haven. And I try very hard to be transparent, to communicate with the residents of Lynn Haven. I've been on Facebook today asking for input in a live video from residents, how they feel, and I was very succinct and very to the point that I wanted input from those residents on Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee Avenue, that area. I only have had 2 phone calls to tell me that they were against this. One is from Mr. Pate, who's here this evening, and we're friends. We live close by each other. Mr. and Mrs. Cutchins, who are no longer here this evening, but they are vehemently opposed. And then I've had one other email, and that person not here, so I don't want to use their name, opposed. At the last workshop, I had Mr. and Mrs. Walker, who spoke against this outside doorway. And when I say opposed, I'm talking about the land use change to mixed use is what I'm talking about, not the project itself. And then I also had Mr. Robitaille, and these residents, while they're part of historical Lynn Haven, they don't live within that seeable vicinity. And so what I have put out on Facebook is, if you live within a few blocks of here and this is going to directly impact you and you're not happy with this plan, please contact me. I've been very vocal. I try to get that message out, and I simply have not had anyone coming to me saying no, other than those I've just listed. And while it's very painful to look at a neighbor and say, I think that I'm going to have to go in the other direction, and I haven't made that decision yet, but I feel there's a gut feeling that we have sometimes that we have once-in-a-lifetime opportunities for our city to move forward or to move backward or to stay in the place where it is. And I can't promise that everything Mr. Bales said is the truth and that it's going to go forward. All I can tell you is that the relationship that I've had with Craig and with Don Jackson since the day I became mayor, and since I've known Mr. Bales, they have presented a plan that I think could move Lynn Haven to a new place, that could make us a place where people will want to stay and not leave. My daughter left Lynn Haven. She went to Lynn Haven Elementary School, she went to Mowat, she went to Mosley. She became a very successful attorney in another city, in another place, because she didn't feel this is where she could stay and raise a family. So I don't want to, keep going on about it, but at this point in time, based on the feedback I've had, I think it's a great thing. When I was campaigning for mayor, I spoke with the people on Lynn Haven Bayou, and I also spoke with the people who live on all the waterways. We're surrounded by water, and water is our life's blood. If we don't get it flushed out, if we don't take care of this environment around Lynn Haven will not be the place that it is now. And there's been so much neglect over the years. There's not been money to take care of it, and all of a sudden there may be an opportunity. So at the risk of alienating myself from a few friends that I know, I hope not, because I try to separate friendship from being the mayor. The mayor's a very difficult place to be sometimes. But I'm a 5th generation person of this community. And change comes. Sometimes change is painful. Sometimes change is scary. Sometimes change is uncertain. But sometimes change can be wonderful. And sometimes change can open doors that we can't even imagine. And everything I've seen about this project, every single thing about it looks great to me. It looks like a great future. So I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to give the opportunity to any of the other commissioners who would like to say something at this point, and then we'll move on to our next workshop.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just simply say...
Commissioner Tender, Commissioner Friend had just started, so I'll get to you next, okay? Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, guys, I forgot about you being on the phone. I just wanted to also just say thank you so much for coming out. This is a great crowd. We appreciate your input. Also want to say that I've had people reach out to me on email. Please continue to do that. It's COMM_friend at cityoflynnhaven.com. I'll certainly reply to you, meet with you, talk with you on the phone. As far as the development's concerned, I'm excited about it. I've said for a very long time, we've been working on this for a very long time. The transition from Tyndall to the developer was a very long process. But I think it has the potential to be one of the greatest developments that really all of Bay County has seen, and I'm very happy to be a part of that for the city of Lynn Haven. So again, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for the presentation, and please reach out to us for comments and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Friend. Commissioner Tender, would you like to go ahead with your comment? I'm sorry.
Yes, I would. I, too, have heard from a lot of people through email and letters, and I've had 5 calls just today. And I have been very transparent about the fact that I love this project. I love the whole idea of the marina, but the opposition I'm getting from the residents is the decoration on the front door. It's the front door to this project that has them feeling very negative because of the old neighborhood. And they don't want all this new technology and, you know, having a house that's been there 50 years across the street from a very modern condo. And I know Mr. Bales is a smart man, and obviously he can afford, but I wish we could compromise and take a look deeper into the front door. That, I think, is the issue that everyone I have talked to has had. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Tender. Commissioner Russell, did you have any comments?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I don't think I can say it any better than what you've already said. I mean, I think all y'all know I'm pro-growth, pro-business, and pro-City of Lynn Haven. I mean, I see this is going to produce money for the City of Lynn Haven in the future, and I think that the development is the right thing for the City of Lynn Haven. That being said, you know, obviously we're never going to make everybody happy, unfortunately. Hopefully, in this instance, we're representing the majority of the people. But I want to thank Mr. Bayless for being here, and I want to thank everybody else for coming. And thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Russell. Commissioner Barnes, did you want to make any comments or say anything to the developer or the people who are here?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Can you guys hear me very well?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, great. First of all, let me say that the presentation that was made was a very good presentation. I can also say that since 1998, the City Commission has worked very diligently in trying to acquire this property because this was what the purpose was in acquiring the property. And from the presentation that I've seen, I could see many jobs coming to this area. I can see growth that will pay for itself, which we've always said that we want it to happen. And I just think this is going to be a very good project for Lynn Haven. Mary, you're absolutely right. Sometimes you have to put aside, when you sit in that chair, you have to do what's best for the city of Lynn Haven. You know, it may not be what I want personally or any of the 5 of us, but at the end of the day, I see this project as a good project for Lynn Haven. It will move Lynn Haven forward. It will pay for the growth that will take place, and it will just be just a win-win situation for everyone. So I just have to just say, Andy, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for everyone who participated in this discussion, whether they were for or against it. I think it's just going to be well for Lynn Haven. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. At this point, we're going to move. Did you want to make a final comment,
No,
Mr.
I just
Bales?
wanted to thank the commission and everybody here for coming out. We really appreciate it, and even those who had, were not so excited about the front door or something like that. We'd love to hear. We're always available. So you've got a comment or something like that, or if you'd like to see a little more in depth of what we plan, we're pretty transparent. So please give us a call. The city manager has our number. You can call us directly or email, and we'll be happy to do what we can.
Thank you so much. And I will be continuing to talk with the residents in my neighborhood because I live at the front door of the project, and I'm still open, and Mr. Pate and others who are here tonight, I'm still open to continuing that conversation. The conversation's not over, and I appreciate your participation. So at this time, I'm ending the workshop from 4 p.m. and moving on to the rates workshop. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you'll come back again. Thank you very much. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and begin. So we'll start back at 5:30. At 5:30.